Hi, my name is Haral Insan Sulaiman, and today we will be learning what and how do spring tides and nip tides occur. So before tackling what spring tides and nip tides are, we should first understand what tides are in general. So the moon's gravitational pull generates something called the tidal force. The tidal force causes Earth and its water to bulge out on the side closest to the moon and the side farthest from the moon. When you're not in one of the bulges, you experience a low tide. So this means that the tides are controlled by the moon's gravitational pull, or to be exact, it is called a tidal force. So the regions nearest or closest and farthest from the moon are those regions that will experience a high tide, while those that are not aligned with the moon are those regions that will experience low tides. Okay, so here we have a picture depicting how the moon controls the tides. So the parts that are closer to the moon and the part that is farthest from the moon are those regions that will experience a high tide. This is because when the moon exerts its gravitational pull, it causes the water to rise, creating a bump, while the parts that are not aligned with the moon are those that will experience a low tide. Okay, so what are spring tides and nip tides? So what's special about these two is because there's another external force acting upon it, causing these tides to be higher than normal tides. Okay, so we first have the spring tides. So spring tides happen just after every full and new moon, when the sun, moon, and earth are in line. When the sun is aligned with the moon, stronger, higher tides called spring tides result. So spring tides happen when the sun, the moon, and the earth align. So when the moon is exerting its external force and the sun is right behind it or is aligned with it, the sun also exerts its gravitational pull, causing it to create higher high tides and lower low tides. So extra high tide is actually what we call a spring tide. So here we have another picture depicting how the spring tide occur. So as we said before, spring tides occur when the sun, the moon, and the earth are aligned together. It doesn't matter if the moon is the one in the middle or the earth is the one in the middle. And this happens because when they are aligned, the moon and the sun's gravitational pull adds together, causing the water to rise even higher than normal. Second, we have the opposite of the spring tide, which is the nip tide. So nip tides occur when the sun is at the right angle to the moon, creating weaker lower tides called nip tides as a result. So this means that nip tides happen when the sun and the moon are perpendicular to each other. So the force that they exert doesn't add up, but instead works against each other. So this creates lower high tides and higher low tides. Okay, so opposite to a spring tide, extra low tides are what we call nip tides. So here we have a picture depicting how a nip tide works. So instead of having the sun and the moon aligned with each other, it is opposite because it is at a right angle to each other. So their external force or gravitational pull does not work together, but instead contrast. So this creates a lower low tides. So this is what we call nip tides.